Hey guys, this is Gabriel Lorenzi, creator of the blog Grupo Dicas, one of the biggest travel blogs in the world, and today I'm here to tell you what to do in Buenos Aires, what are the must-see tours and what you can't miss here. And really, this is our honest opinion because there were many places that we heard everyone recommending that they were the best and we didn't like them. There were two that I'll tell you about, so we are going to give you the best tips that will really make a difference on your trip, so stay tuned because they will be quick, useful and not boring at all. Like the video guys, subscribe to the channel because it really helps us a lot, and buckle up. Well, let's start with the most famous attractions there, the most visited and the most well known, such as the tourist and historical center of Buenos Aires. It's not the best place to stay. We talked a lot that video where to stay in Buenos Aires. If you want, watch it because it's pretty cool. It's a region that has a lot of tourist attractions, but it's not a good place to stay because it's a little bit complicated in terms of security for you to walk there at night. And anyway, but that's where some of the main tourist attractions are. So let's start there with Plaza de Mayo. It's one of the most important squares in Argentina. It's where most of the revolutions took place, all the protests, and it's where people go to protest for changes. So it's a very strong historical symbolism for the Argentinians, and it's there that's the famous Casa Rosada, which is the government house, the famous Casa Rosada of Buenos Aires. And there is also the Bicentennial Museum, which is on the other side of the square. So these three sites are practically right next to each other. What happens? The Casa Rosada is the main tourist attraction that you need to visit, but there's not much there and the area is not so beautiful. So you get to the square, sometimes when you go there, when we went both times, there were a lot of barriers and things there separating people, security things, construction and remodeling. So it's not such a beautiful scenario near the square, but it's very nice for taking pictures in front of the Casa Rosada, which is a historical building in Argentina and worth a visit. And the Bicentennial Museum is also very cool and worth visiting, and there is also the Metropolitan Cathedral of Buenos Aires, which is very cool about its history. It's a beautiful cathedral, and so it's worth visiting as well, guys. It's a beautiful place. I recommend that you go there. And nearby there is also 9 de Julio Avenue, which is one of the most famous avenues in Argentina. You probably have seen it. That's where they have that famous obelisk. It's a very nice place and it's very big, so to walk along it you will spend a lot of time. It's very big, and to walk around it takes a long time and you get tired, so take a good look at the obelisk. It's a very nice place to visit. And nearby there is also the Column Theater, which is a sensational construction. It's a very beautiful and historic building that has been preserved, and there are several presentations, theaters and several nice music shows, so it's worth visiting. Not only the outside, the exterior, but also the inside, which you can visit depending on the day. You buy the ticket or you can even watch some show. Check the website's agenda and see if there is something cool to watch there. There is always something cool going on. The tickets for these tours, the Colón Theater, the Bombonera for tours, and for several other tourist points in Buenos Aires, we recommend that you buy them online. It always ends up being cheaper than buying them on the spots. When you are there, you would have to wait in line, so you avoid the lines and you don't lose your time on your trip. And buying in advance, you already buy in your language, you understand everything, and it's much easier. The purchase is in your currency and you don't pay IOF, and it's much better. I'll leave the link in the description of the video to the website. We use it to buy the tickets there, which is a very good one. The prices are very good indeed. They were always the best we found, and there are all the tours and excursions that I think are cool. So you buy everything in one place and it's much easier. Take a look, it's worth it. Another place that we really liked and that's close to Casa Rosada, you can even go there after visiting Plaza de Mayo and Casa Rosada, is Puerto Madero. It's very nice. It's a very nice walkable area and it has the best restaurants in Buenos Aires. Try to book a nice restaurant. You can book it online and there are very good restaurants and the price is not expensive. Mostly the specialty is meat specialties from Argentina, but there are also all kinds of other dishes for those who are vegetarian. There is always one thing or another, so it's very cool because it's on the edge of a river. You will see that Puerto Madero has a river and there is a very nice sidewalk for you to walk there. Our tip is to walk at sunset or have lunch and then walk there, or go at night, because the region is beautiful, but it's a very nice area for you to walk because there are restaurants, bars, there are some tables outside, there is ice cream, and there are several things there for you. To have a very pleasant night, there is a famous steakhouse, Siga la Vaca, which is the most famous, and it has all you can eat meat. We went there and we liked it a lot. There were other restaurants that we went to that we thought were better, but Siga La Vaca was also very good. It has a lot of variety of meat, and it's nice to know the difference there of meat, the Argentine cuts, and the typical food for the people there. Now let's talk about a place that's very recommended for all tourists, which is the Caminito, the famous place that has those colorful little houses. There are a lot of people advertising there because it's really a different tourist spot. Our only disappointment was it's a very small street. You see it in the pictures and you think it's a whole region like that, charming and colorful, but it's not. This area is inside La Boca, which is a neighborhood in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and it's one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Buenos Aires. And it's also home to La Bombonera, the Boca Junior Stadium, which is another tourist attraction that we'll talk about, but the region is a little complicated when it comes to security. So our tip, go in the morning, don't leave it for the afternoon to get the nightfall. That's not so nice. So go there in the morning, go straight to the tourist spot that's quiet there, just be smart, but nothing that we are not used to. Even more us who live here in Brazil and in São Paulo, we are always on alert, so there's no problem. Surely you are already used to it and you just have to keep an eye on it, but it's a very nice region. Yes, we do recommend that you go there because it has the most famous sites. There is the first building that you see, which is a little house on the corner, colorful and with a statue of the Pope. Nowadays they changed the statues, but it's very nice. It's a kind of a balcony and everybody takes pictures down there. And on the streets there are some touristy things. There are several restaurants, tango shows and souvenir shops, but there are a lot of people there trying to sell you things because there are only tourists there. So there are those people who stand behind the tourists trying to sell lunch and trying to sell souvenirs. But take a look there, try to dodge a little bit, and it's a place for even you to have lunch too. Take a break and then come back, but it's a kind of a quick tour. We're disappointed by the size. It's just that those houses, a very small street with a few shops, and that's it. There's nothing else to see after that. And there in this region, La Boca neighborhood, is La Bombonera. For those who are fanatical about soccer, it's worth visiting. We think the following: for those who are not, sometimes women who don't like soccer very much, and for men who are not so fanatical, we think it's not worth it. It's different from the Camp Nou in Barcelona, which is a spectacular stadium. The area is beautiful, and the experience in the stadium is beautiful. We recommend a visit there, even for those who don't like soccer, because it's worth it. But La Bombonera is not as glamorous and not as beautiful, so it's more for fanatics. For those who like soccer, it's sensational because they know the history of the place and the energy, and that's what counts a lot there. This whole history and the energy of the fans, which is sensational, the stadium, the format, the acoustics, and this is priceless for those who like soccer, so it's worth it. On the website that I put the tickets here, there's also a tour there. You can tour the whole stadium and the La Boca Museum, which is very cool. I really liked this tour and I highly recommend it for those who like soccer, but only for those. And guys, if you have any questions at all about traveling, send us a direct message on social networks. We will really help you, and follow us there. We are always traveling around the world, showing our travel tips in a very cool way, and our family routine with our little ones too, which are a blast. So you can send us a message there and we'll answer you and help you with your doubts to plan your trip with great pleasure. Another tour that we think is very nice to do and that's not so well publicized is the Tigre River tour. The Tiger River crosses Buenos Aires. Go to the Tiger region, which is a city near there, and is also worth the trip. So we recommend that you do it. On this website that we recommended, there is also the tour. Take a look there to see how much it costs or the distance from Buenos Aires, everything. But it's a tour that we think is very beautiful and a little bit different from the city of Buenos Aires. It's nice to see the other side of Argentina. We think it's very beautiful. Now let's talk about the region of Recoleta, which is a very nice neighborhood. In our opinion, is the best place to stay, and after that Palermo. But Recoleta for us is an incredible location. It's a very charming neighborhood. It has a slightly European style and it's a very beautiful neighborhood. The lodging is a little more expensive because it's a more select neighborhood. The lodging is more expensive and the hotels are better, but it's close to everything, close to downtown and to Palermo. It's in the middle of both regions, so we love it. And there are two very famous tourist attractions there that you have to know. Besides strolling around there, which is a nice walk around there, there are a lot of coffee shops. It's very nice, charming, and restaurants on the street. Then take a walk through Recoleta, which is worth it. And there is the Recoleta Cemetery, which is one of the most famous tourist spots in Buenos Aires. It's a cemetery. It's very strange, people. It made us feel strange when we got there in front and entered. We had a very weird feeling. Some people are more sensitive to these things, some people don't care and think it's normal. It depends on each one of us, but it's a very beautiful tourist spot. And why? We think of cemeteries and the ones we are used to in our country come to mind, but this cemetery is a little different. This is where the main celebrities, important people and political figures from Argentina's history are buried. Even those who are not from Buenos Aires went there to be buried, so it's a very famous and beautiful place. The buildings you will see don't look like a cemetery. When you look from above, it looks like a neighborhood with many small houses, because there are many buildings, each one in its own way. It has many different architectures, historical and beautiful. The buildings where the coffins are placed are beautiful. Sometimes you even forget that you are in a cemetery, but there is no way. It's full of crosses, everything, so it depends on each person, but it's the most famous. And another tourist spot that we think is very beautiful is the Flores Generica. It's a very beautiful big steel flower, and it's inside a park too, which is very beautiful, and it's very nice to walk around. You can walk there and you will pass through a very beautiful green area. It's very nice, especially in the afternoon, and this flower is very famous because besides being huge and providing a very beautiful scenery, it's closed at night and opens during the day. But the movement is very slow and you don't even notice it, so it's nice to take pictures during the day and after a few hours take them again. It's a very beautiful place. It doesn't cost anything and you can walk around there and through the parks, which is very nice. And if you go up there to that area which is up there following the river, you will also get to the other attractions that we are going to talk about now in Palermo neighborhood. So it's a tour that you can put everything together and it's all very nice and beautiful. Now let's talk about Palermo. It's the biggest neighborhood in Buenos Aires, it's the most beautiful and it's the richest. People who have a higher financial status live there, and it's one of the most beautiful areas to stay. Most of the tourists stay there, and at night it's the most lively place, so if you are looking for a lively night, Palermo is the right place. Because it has several restaurants, bars, and there are some very cool clubs there, so it's a little bit younger and more modern, and the streets are very beautiful, very tree lined, and they are close to some very nice parks and sites, so it makes the scenario of the neighborhood even more beautiful. The main tourist attraction that everybody talks about is the Hippodrome, which is the place where the horse races take place, and it's a very famous place. We didn't like it so much. I don't know if it's because we are not into horse racing, we are not interested in it. We don't think it's such a nice place to visit. We heard that's the top one place in Palermo, but we don't agree. But we found other very nice places that are very close to the river, which is the Japanese garden. We didn't find many advertisements, but we thought it was beautiful and it's a very nice place. You have to buy the entrance tickets, but it's cheap. It's like a botanical garden, but everything is Japanese and Oriental style. There are lakes with carps and bridges. We think that it was perhaps the coolest place in Buenos Aires to take pictures. If you like pictures, it's worth it, and we loved it there. And there, from the Japanese garden, we went up with the map and oriented ourselves by GPS. This is another good tip. Use the internet there. It helped a lot. For those who don't know, to use your cell phone abroad, you either need to activate the international roaming of your carrier, which is a fortune. Don't do that. It's the worst possible way to use your cell phone there, and the other way is to use a prepaid international chip. Buy a chip with a package of the internet and you can use the cell phone easily there. We always like it, and we recommend that you buy it before in your country so you don't have to worry about it there, which is a little bit complicated. You have to install it, make up the settings, and you lose travel time. There are some companies that sell it. We will leave the link of the one we used it in our last 8 trips because it was the best signal quality, because the others were not so good, and it worked in all places perfectly and their service is sensational. We bought it beforehand on the internet, and in a few days it arrived at our house. We received a manual, got there, put the chip in and used the internet easily. It helped a lot. We used the cell phone to guide us through most of Buenos Aires, otherwise you get lost and the city is very big, and it helps to search all the tourist attractions, schedules and so on. There is no way to travel abroad without a cell phone, but a nice walk. When you go up a little bit beyond the Japanese garden, you will see the parks Bosques de Palermo. It's a very nice park, it's a very big and has several small parks attached to it, but you keep walking and you keep seeing it because it's a very big avenue. You will see the green area that's very beautiful. There are people exercising and children playing. There was a very nice area there with children that we observed their parents having fun, so it's a very nice place to walk around. It's a green place and a little bit different from downtown Buenos Aires. And to close the list that's giant because Buenos Aires is a big city and there is no way to make a short list, there is the region, the neighborhood of San Telmo. For those who like history, it's the main place because it's the oldest neighborhood in Buenos Aires. It's where Buenos Aires began, so they kept a lot of its culture and the architecture of the buildings. So it's a very cultural and local place in Buenos Aires. It's a neighborhood that's a little bit poorer and a little bit more humble. The people who live there don't have a very good financial condition. You will see that the streets and the buildings are very worn, and there is a very famous fair that takes place there. People stand in stalls with various handicrafts, antiques, and selling very cool things. For those who like history, it's a very beautiful and worthwhile trip. For those who don't like these things, a little more history, everything, and prefer the tourist attractions a little more modern, we don't recommend it, so it's up to each one's taste. You decide which one is better for you. And I'll leave here below for you the link of all the services that I'm commenting on here, all the services and tools that we are used to make our trips, which are very good, and you will save a lot with all of them. Then there's the chip, there is a map of where to stay, customize it. We put together here a little map with the best region for you to stay located in Buenos Aires with the best selected hotels. We put the filter of hotels that have grades from 8 to 10 and from 3 stars to 5 stars. So it's the tool that we use and that has the best prices, so take a look. There is also the chip for you choose the internet. There's the link of the tours, the tickets that sells the cheapest tours and excursions. There's a travel insurance comparator that's very good. Guys, do not travel outside your country without travel insurance. It's very important. The insurance covers you for any unforeseen medical, dental, and several things that can happen abroad that are fortune, so it's very expensive. A hospitalization up there is absurd, so it's very cheap. With $13 to $15 you can get a great insurance using the comparator. I'll leave the link here. It compares all the insurance companies. Anyway, it's a list here in the video description. You click on show more. It's a step-by-step for you to hire everything there, the best, always the cheapest services and the whole trip. And that's it, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you like it, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel because it really helps us a lot. And don't forget to watch the other videos. The one about where to stay in Buenos Aires, which is really cool, and a very good video is the one on how to save a lot on your trip to Argentina and Buenos Aires. It explains everything step by step on how to plan your entire trip with the main tips, best tools, comparators, and how to hire everything, saving a lot. I'll leave it here along with the playlist that has all the other videos from Argentina for you to watch. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much and have a nice trip.